Today's episode is brought to you by the folks over at SeatGeek, the best and easiest to use ticket platform out there. They take the confusion out of buying tickets using a 0 to 10 scoring system and a green is good, red is bad color rating system so you and your loved ones get the best deal possible. So whether it's going to see our beloved Redlegs at Great American Ballpark, the Bengals over at Paycor, FC Cincinnati, one of the area college teams, or pretty much anything in between, use promo code Riverfront at checkout and receive $20 off your first order. Click the link in the show notes to download the app and get started. That's Riverfront, one word, for $20 off.
What is up, everybody? Hope everyone is having an awesome Sunday evening. We are coming to you live at 8:01 p.m. Bengals are coming off a 31-17. We're not going to say just demolishing, but a pretty decisive victory against the San Francisco 49ers. This was about as good of a game, about as thorough of a game that you really could have expected to see from the Bengals. Coming off of a bye, facing a team, 49ers were hungry. They've lost their last two games, and the offense came out and did exactly what you wanted to see from them. Again, come out scoring on their first two drives, touchdowns. Our good friend and yours, Yoshi, getting the second touchdown pass there. Defense came out, got a 3-and-out in the very first drive, and off they went. For the fact that they were actually outgained by the 49ers in the game, 460-400, the game really wasn't even as close as the scoreboard said. Bengals left at least 10 points on the board, possibly even more. There was the sack that Burrow took pushed them back to Evan McPherson to a long 50-yard field goal attempt by Evan McPherson that he missed wide right. And then there was the fumble in the very next drive by Irv Smith when they were down inside at around a 5-yard line. They were going to go in and score on that. And it's just more and more proven more and more they really need a tight end. I was surprised when you saw the actives and activations, and they didn't call up Tanner Hudson to be active this game. Burrow still has faith in Smith, I guess. He went to him again later for on 3rd and 13 for an 11-yard pickup. Almost came close to picking up the first down on that play, but basically that's the only not so great part of the entire afternoon was, again, the struggle to get anything with the tight end. Threw past the Drew Sample wide open at drop, one of only 4 incompletions that Joe Burrow had all day. This was absolute vintage Joe Burrow, the guy that we were hoping to see out of the gate if it weren't for the calf injury. His stat line was ridiculous. 28 of 32, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's 88%, 87.5 if you want to be exact, completion percentage. I mean, he was 1 or 2 plays off having the Bengals record, Kenny Anderson's record for highest completion percentage in a game, which is 90%. He was on target all game long. Made an incredibly tough pass to Boyd late in the third quarter. Might have even been the fourth quarter. Needed an absolute seed, and he was able to reach back and absolutely fire one off. He looked like he was 100% healthy. Ran the ball a couple times, was really decisive running it. He had 6 carries for 43 yards. There were several times when I'm fussing at him, like, why are you not running the ball? Why are you not sliding? And he took some extra hits, but he bounced right up and he was fired up. He was absolutely just into the game, and competitive juices had him going, and he's no worse for wear than fine. I prefer him not take those unnecessary hits, especially hit a couple games well past the first down line to go. But again, if he's going to do that and bounce up, cool, fine. But again, please slide. You're way too valuable with your arm than to take any extra hits, or God forbid you get some stupid. As my cat's trying to climb up my door behind me. But that being said, defense looked really good. 2 more interceptions by the linebackers. Bengals have to have the most dynamic linebacking crew. I know that there were supposedly 2 All-Pros on the other side of the field, Fred Warner and Greenlaw. I don't recall hearing their names called at all, except for there was one time Mixon absolutely ran over Greenlaw on a run, and I that was the only time I heard either of them get called for anything. Um, Trey Hendrickson does what Trey Hendrickson gets paid to do. After going out with a kind of scary looking injury that I guess he got his foot stepped on by a lineman on a pass rush. And I don't know if he twisted his ankle, but he got it taped up and came back in the very next drive and then was back out to terrorizing the quarterback. Joe Mixon ran about as well as he's run all season. And he's had some games where he's looked pretty well, but he had 16 carries, 87 yards, and the absolute dagger of a touchdown run there late in the fourth quarter that absolutely was just this steal from Dave Lapham was coffin nails. Running hard, exploding through the line. This is a game I don't want to hear anybody complain about Zach Taylor's play calling. They had the entire playbook available to them, and especially in the first half, they pulled out pretty much everything, all the creativity, all of the all the formations, everything that they wanted to do. They were able to do it, and they looked really, really good. A lot more plays from under center, which is stuff that they've been working on and weren't able to. Well, she's still going at it. Apparently, she really likes the Bengals. She just wants to hype it up. Make sure you guys see my flag behind me. Again, I mean, this was as good of a game as you would have expected. I mean, 49ers are still, despite a 3-game losing streak, they're still probably the most complete team in the NFL. I mean, the Eagles might be, 1A and 1B, but I mean, they have all pros all over the field. Nick Bosa did make an impact. He had a couple quarterback hits. Wasn't in on any of the sacks. Again, we didn't hear anything from any of the linebackers, and there were guys. Bengals had receivers open all over, so didn't really hear much of anyone on their secondary. Again, it's nice coming into a game that you started to feel. Again, with the two missed opportunities that the Bengals had, it's one of those you start to feel that like this is a game that they can lose. That if they're going to lose, we're going to look back at these missed things and be like, man, they absolutely had their chance. Like, is this, are they going to crap this one away with the fumble, with the missed field goal and the sack and everything? But they made plays when it mattered. They kept the Niners pretty much in check. McCaffrey 12 carries for 54 yards. Like that's doing a really good job. Brock Purdy was the leading rusher on the day with 6 carries for 57 yards. I'll take that. I'll take that every single game. George Kittle got open, especially late in the game. A lot of garbage time, kind of big chunk plays. They didn't cover him well throughout the game as it was. And Brandon Ayuk had 5 catches for 109 yards. Every time he's catching the ball for 20 plus yards. But again, I'll take that. Brock Purdy threw 2 picks, could have been 4 or 5. He has this thing, and he made 2 plays on the same drive. Throwing the ball across his body late, and they're both completions. One of them was the touchdown to McCaffrey. The other was the 3rd down pass to George Kittle. People are going to point to them like, what a fantastic throw. Kid, throw those all game long. This is going to get picked off more times than not. You got lucky. And we talked about it the other day on our regular show, Greg and me. He puts the ball in harm's way, especially when he's under pressure. Bengals they only had 2 sacks. They had good pressure, but it's not like they were in his face all game long. I know the interior defensive line got a lot of push. DJ Reader got called for quite possibly the worst roughing the passer penalty on what was an interception by Mike Hilton. He hit him around the waist and slid down to his legs, and our good friend Ron Torbert, fuck that guy, called it roughing the passer, said he hit him low. I think it was the very next play. Trey Hendrickson had the sack strip, fumble recovery, and Bengals ball, and that was that. But again, I mean, this game went so much totally different track than what I thought it was. You kind of figured that this was going to be one of those slogs. Like, even if the Bengals got off to a good start, it might turn into what we saw from the Seahawks game, to where offense gets off and then absolutely just kind of collapses in on itself and then becomes a punt show. Bengals only punted 3 times the entire game. One of them was just at the very end when they were just trying to milk the clock down. And it wasn't until halfway through the third quarter when they punted once. So, this is the kind of game that, especially coming out of the bye, they had the momentum with the wins, but this sets them up for a huge run. And winning games like this against contenders on the road, this buys you a letdown game later in the season. I know they still have a huge games coming up. Next game is Sunday night at home against the Bills. They still have 2 games against the Steelers, Baltimore, Cleveland. There's still a handful of still have a really, really tough schedule. But winning these games, this buys you the opportunity to have a slip up, to have a bad game, or somebody's injured or just has a bad week. You're buying yourself an out there. Across the division, this outside of Baltimore taking care of Arizona, this week was so much better than last week. Cleveland ended up losing to Seattle, and Pittsburgh, that was a terrible game. Pittsburgh lost to Jacksonville, and that offense, I know Pickett got hurt. They actually looked a lot better moving the football, and quarterback play looked a lot better with Mitch Trubisky, which tells you a lot. You're not going to have people trying to claim that Mitch Trubisky is on the same trajectory as Joe Burrow anymore, which is good because pretty much everybody who had ever watched more than a handful of games of NFL could tell you that they're totally different quarterbacks. But when Mitch Trubisky is your best looking quarterback, that I'm sure they'll put back Kenny Pickett's a second-year guy. He was a first-round pick. Not like they're going to bench him, but it was pretty significant just how much better their offense flowed without Kenny Baby Hand. So, again, I'm not going to run long here. There's not a lot, not exactly anyone joining in with all kinds of comments and anything. So, just kind of want to pop on live here. Again, this was 31-17. This game could have been 40, could have been in the 40s, and the fourth quarter could have been an absolute laugher. This game sets up well. You saw the offense, you saw the things that they wanted to do. They need to stop running Case on end arounds, because for as awesome as he is, as rarely as he gets tackled by the first guy, he's not very good on the end arounds. Tyler Boyd had one handoff on an end around or jet motion, and took it 5, 6, 7 yards for a first down. Outside of that, the offense looked fantastic. They ran the ball well. I wish they would have used more other guys on off, to run the ball. Trevion Williams had 2 carries for 7 yards, and he was the only other back to get the ball. And we know Chase Brown's out for at least 4 weeks since he's on the IR. But I think they need to make sure that Mixon stays as fresh as possible. Again, 16 carries today, not too bad. You don't want games where he's running 25, 30 times because they don't trust anyone else to run the ball. But again, today's a great day in Bengals in Houday Nation, and sets them up. We'll see. Make sure everyone else comes up. And as far as I know, there weren't any major injuries that came out of this game. I'm sure Trey's going to get some treatment on his ankle. He looked good. There wasn't any concerns about his ribs or anything like that. Hopefully we can get Davis Gaither back, just get more depth in the linebacker core. But outside of that, this today was better than but I won't say better than expected. They won, and they won handily. But today was a beautiful day. So outside of that, guys, we will be back live, or not live. I'm sorry, I'm only live on Sundays. We'll be back with you on Thursday morning, most likely, with our regularly scheduled show, Greg and me. Outside of that, you guys all take care.